Hello, I'm Rev Linda Le Vasseur. I'm the lead chaplain at the Princess Elizabeth Hospital, one of a number of a team that serve the spiritual needs of the hospital. Well, there's two important things that I'd like to say right from the outset, that we are a team. It's not a one-man band by any means. We work together as a team. We work over the denomination, so there are Catholic chaplains, there's a Free Church chaplain, and we have regular meetings so that we can share our concerns together and support one another. Our concern is not only for the service users, obviously we are there for the service users, but we are also there to support their relatives and friends, and very importantly too, the staff of the hospital. Well, there's no real day in the life of, because like everybody else probably who works within the service, every day's a bit different. But we visit the wards regularly, and we visit people of all religions and of none. If somebody doesn't want the chaplain to visit them, then we respect that totally and move on. But we're quite happy to speak with people who don't feel that they're people of faith but just want a listening ear. So that's a very important part of our work. Once a week there's a service in the chapel within the PEH at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Friday, and we take it in turns to lead that service. And from that service we go out onto the wards to give Holy Communion to those patients that would like to receive it. We also pray with people. We prepare those who are reaching the end of their life for their death, and we support their relatives, particularly at this sad time for them. But that's one of the occasions where often ward staff need support as well, because particularly in the continuing care wards, they may have nursed someone or looked after someone for a very long time, and so it's a bereavement for them as well as the closer friends and family. We're just there to support the staff in everything they do. So it might be staff working on a particular project. Currently I'm supporting a group of staff who are working on a bereavement project, and so I'm having an input but also supporting them in what they're doing. We might be a listening ear for a member of staff who's going through a difficult time or is unsure where the future leads them. There's a wide range of things that we can do to help. I think the most rewarding part of my job is really just being alongside people, whether it's a good time, because we don't only do gloom and doom. I work on Loveridge Ward, and it's just wonderful when a new life comes into the world. I had a first the other week of seeing a baby that was only 30 minutes old, and that was just so magical that his parents wanted me to be there alongside them at that time. I thought that was a huge privilege. But it's just that getting alongside people, whether it's happy times or sad times or uncertain times, whatever it is, it's just being there for people. I think the more you get to know the staff, the more that they open up to you. That is perfectly true. I think also, as you make your presence felt in the hospital, not in a loud way, but just, it's what we call the ministry of presence, just being there and being around. The people that come into the hospital either to visit or the service users themselves see you as a familiar face, and they see you as part of the team. And I suppose there's something else I should have said, in that just like other members of the team, we work on social hours. So theoretically and hopefully practically, there is a chaplain available for you 24/7. It may not necessarily be the chaplain that looks after your ward, but one of us will always come out any time of the day or night if we are needed. Well, if you were a service user, you would speak to the staff on the ward, because all the wards are or should be aware of who the designating chaplain is for their ward, And if that chaplain isn't available, then they know who the other chaplains are. There's a list and they can access one of the other chaplains. We also have all our details at the Porter's Lodge. So if someone was to speak to the porters, they would be able to direct you. Or if someone phones the PH, the switchboard also have all the contacts of the chaplains. So they don't generally put the general public through to the chaplains, but they will phone the chaplain and say, so-and-so has phoned and they would like to speak to a chaplain, can you make contact? And of course we have a notice board outside the chapel, and that has our contacts on there as well. It wouldn't be quite so easy for you as it would if you were in a hospital in England, because there are far more people from other faiths. So the major faiths would have provision for chaplaincy within the hospital. But I do have contacts with members of the other major religions who I can bring in if I get a request that a person would like to see someone from another faith, a leader from another faith. And also at end of life, that's a very important thing to think about. It's a very big question, that question, and I'm not sure that I can just pick one thing, but as I've already touched on, sometimes being alongside people at the birth of a baby, especially if there have been difficulties. There was a young lass who lost a baby, and she asked me to go and visit her at home some months later, and I remember her saying to me, we talked a little about how she was feeling, and she was still in a sad place about that loss of a baby, but I noticed that there was something about her that I couldn't put my finger on, and just as I was leaving she said, I've got to tell you, she said, God sent me another one. And she just learnt that she was expecting again, and that was I felt so privileged. The only other person who knew at that time was her husband, and that was very special. Another time that does spring to mind is and it's very different. We had a patient on caskets ward who'd been there quite a while, and it became apparent that she was near the end of her life, and I was called in the small hours of the morning to go, and went up to the hospital, and the staff nurse looking after her, before I could, because I always invite the staff if they want to come in on that time, but before I could even say anything, she turned to me and she said, can I come in with you while you pray and do what you have to do? And I felt we had a really special time together, and it was a great privilege to be not only alongside that service user who was on her way to the next life, but to have this young member of staff sharing that moment alongside me too, and we were supporting one another. And that says a lot about chaplaincy, really, actually, because we're there to support one another, and although the chaplains are there to support the staff, we're conscious that it's a two-way process. Well, when it comes to chaplaincy, I've got lots of ideas of what I'd like to see happen. I'd like to see us giving more support for the bereaved, and I've also been approached by some members of staff who would like a specific Christian group to meet within the hospital on a regular basis, because when people work shift work, sometimes it's very difficult for them to get to their local church. So if we could have something happening within the hospital as well, that would support those people. I think in general terms, although communication is quite good and I think it's improving, I still think we need to work on that we communicate with one another. Sometimes it's not because someone doesn't want to communicate, they just think that someone would know about what's going on when they don't necessarily. So I think that is an area that we still need to keep working on. I'd like to say Christmas, but Christmas is such a busy time for clergy, but there is something very special when we have our annual carol service in the Emma Furbrush room. We have people from all areas of the hospital coming and joining together. And actually, I shouldn't really say this, but the best bit, I don't think it's the worship, but afterwards the little extras provide a buffet for us, and you just see people chilling out together, talking together, and just enjoying being together at what is a very special time of year. So I think probably I would say Christmas. I believe that we're made physical, emotional, intellectual and spiritual beings, and so for the whole person's needs to be catered for, then all those aspects of our makeup need to be catered for. And that's where the team thing comes in again, because chaplains aren't just a team working together as a team of chaplains, they're actually part of the team caring for the service user. And I've been very encouraged since I've been working at the hospital, where ward staff will sometimes see that a person has a particular need to have that kind of, to tap into that, the spiritual, in order for them to move on in their care. So I think that's one of the most important aspects of chaplaincy, that we work within the team alongside all the different members, giving care to the whole person.
I can't remember exactly how long, because I had open heart surgery in Southampton. But in all, I've been here, this is my 10th month. Unbelievable, because I'm slim and I eat very healthily, and my thoughts were, why me? But I suppose actually you should be saying, well, why something, this is quite interesting, something I did ask when I went very quickly to intensive care here because I was anemic. And I knew the anaesthetist and quite a few of the staff there. And, but I was really scared then, actually going to intensive care. I'd never been in intensive care in all the time I was nursing. And I said, do people actually go home from here?
Yes. That's very important actually, because I think that a lot of people feel your way up to going into intensive care, that it's not going to end happily, but actually lots and lots of people, most of them come out, they go onto the ward and then go home and continue their lives.
I think it was the porter. There was a porter I knew from here, and he said, yes, of course. I've only coped because of my wackiness. I have a lot of fun with the nurses, and in fact Christmas I was dreading being in here, dreading it. But actually I had a really good day, an amazing day. And in fact my daughter in London said, I think you had a better Christmas than we had, Mom. Well, I had lots of presents, loads of presents, because friends that we don't swap presents at Christmas all gave me presents. And I had an amazing present from the hospital. And they really, the girl that went out to buy them really spent lots of money. So I was like a child that morning. I mean, I was rooting through and throwing the paper anywhere. And it was lovely, apart from the food, because I don't like Christmas food, any of it. Can't bear it. But it was really good. Well, that's another story. I'm Catholic because I'm French. That doesn't perhaps go automatically. And my father became a lapsed Catholic, and it was very sad the way it happened. So then he stopped, I was the eldest of four, he stopped taking me to Mass. and he sent me to, and this is my brothers and sisters as well, sent us to a Methodist church. So I took First Communion at the Methodist church. I just lived a Christian way of life, which, as Linda said, that's fine, isn't it? That's what Christianity is about, isn't it? Well, we knew each other anyway, and then we met socially. And then when I came in here, it was it.
It was good to actually catch up after all those years, because we hadn't seen each other for a while.
No. A lot of fun. An interesting conversation sometimes.
Yes, we have very wide-ranging conversations,
yes.
don't we? Yes. Yeah.
Can you give me some examples of the sorts of conversations you have?
I'll let Linda do that.
Well, some of them probably would be classified, but but we've talked about some serious things. We've talked about why bad things sometimes happen to good people, but alongside the serious things, we've actually had some girly conversations as well, and fun things. And then you've formed a friendship with another patient, haven't you? Well,
I've taken communion, Church of England communion 3 times. Because I think it was this little lady that wanted me to go.
Yes, another patient who was very keen to receive communion, but she was keen for Rosemary to come along. So the 3 of us have met weekly for 3 weeks now.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting and it's fun. That's all I can say.
And the girly talks are good, aren't they? Yes.
Girly talks,
we appreciate each other's clothes and
and we comment.
Yes, and we talk about men.
Oh, and men, yes.
I better behave myself then.
What they're good at and what they're not, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a real privilege actually to be able to get alongside people and maybe build a friendship with them in their time with us at a time that is very worrying and distressing for them. And I think it's really important for us as chaplains to be listeners, so that we can really pick up on what people are feeling, because it's different for everybody. Rosemary's spoken about what she felt as coming in as a patient. Other people might have different fears or different feelings. We need to be listening and terribly aware, so that we can just support them wherever we can.